Chapter 11 of The Case of the Lamp That Went Out by Auguste Groner, translated by Grace Isabel Colbron. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. In the police court. Commissioner von Riedau sat at his desk late that evening, finishing up some important papers. The quiet of an undisturbed night watch had settled down on the busy police station. An occasional low murmur of whispering voices floated up from the guardroom below, but otherwise the stillness was broken only by the scratching of the commissioner's pen and the rustle of the paper as he turned the leaves. It was a silence so complete that a light step on the stair outside and the gentle turning of the doorknob was heard distinctly, and the commissioner looked up with almost a start to see who was coming to his room so late. Joseph Müller stood in the open door, awaiting his chief's official recognition. "Oh, it's you, Müller, so late. Come in. Anything new?" asked the commissioner. "Have you succeeded in drawing a confession from that stubborn tramp yet? You've been interviewing him, I take it?" "Yes, I had a long talk with Johann Knoll today." "Well, that ought to help matters along. Has he confessed? What could you get out of him?" "Nothing, or almost nothing, more than he told us here in the station, sir." "The man's incredibly stubborn," said the commissioner. "If he could only be made to understand that a free confession would benefit him more than anyone else. Well, don't look so downcast about it, Müller. This thing is going to take longer than we thought at first for such a simple affair. But it's only a question of time until the man comes to his senses. You'll get him to talk soon. You always do. And even if you should fail here, this matter is not so very important when we think of all the other things you have done." Müller, standing front of the desk, shook his head sadly. "But I haven't failed here, sir. More's the pity," I had almost said. "What?" The commissioner looked up in surprise. "I thought you just said that you couldn't get anything more out of the accused." "Knoll has told us all he knows, sir. He did not murder Leopold Winkler." "Humph!" The commissioner's exclamation had a touch of acidity in it. "Then if he didn't murder him, who did?" "Herbert Thorn, painter, living in the Thorn mansion in B Street, Hietzinger, now in Venice, Hotel Danieli. I ask for a warrant for his arrest, sir, and orders to start for Venice on the early morning express tomorrow." "Müller, what the deuce does all this mean?" The commissioner sprang up, his face flushing deeply as he leaned over the desk, staring at the sad, quiet face of the little man opposite. "What are you talking about? What does all this mean?" "It means, sir, that we now know who committed the murder in Hietzinger. Johann Knoll is innocent of anything more than the theft confessed by himself. He took the purse and watch from the senseless form of the just murdered man. The body was warm and still supple, and the tramp supposed the victim to be merely intoxicated. His story was in every respect true, sir." The commissioner flushed still deeper. "And who do you say murdered this man?" "Herbert Thorn, sir." "But Thorn? I know of him, have even a slight personal acquaintance with him. Thorn is a rich man of excellent family. Why should he murder and rob an obscure clerk like this Winkler?" "He did not rob him, sir. Knoll did that." "Oh, yes. But why should Thorn commit murder on this man who scarcely touched his life at any point? It's incredible. Müller, are you sure you're not letting your imagination run away with you again? It is a serious thing to make such an accusation against any man, much less against a man in Thorn's position. Are you sure of what you are saying?" The commissioner's excitement rendered him almost inarticulate. The shock of the surprise occasioned by the detective's words produced a feeling of irritation, a phenomenon not unusual in the minds of worthy but pedantic men of affairs when confronted by a startling new thought. "I am quite sure of what I am saying, sir. I have just heard the confession of one who might be called an accomplice of the murderer." "It is incredible, incredible. An accomplice, you say? Who is this accomplice? Might it not be someone who has a grudge against Thorn? Someone who is trying to purposely mislead you?" "I am not so easily deceived or misled, sir. Every evidence points to Thorn, and the confession I have just heard was made by a woman who loves him, who has loved and cared for him from his babyhood. There is not the slightest doubt of it, sir." Müller moved a step nearer the desk, gazing firmly in the eyes of the excited commissioner. The sadness on the detective's face had given way to a gleam of pride that flushed his sallow cheek and brightened his gray eyes. It was one of those rare moments when Müller allowed himself a feeling of triumph in his own power, in spite of the official subordination and years of habit. His slight frame seemed to grow taller and broader as he faced the chief, with an air of quiet determination, that made him at once master of the situation. His voice was as low as ever, but it took on a keen, incisive note that compelled attention as he continued. Herbert Thorn is the murderer of Leopold Winkler. Now that he knows an innocent man is under accusation for his deed, it is only a question of time before he will come himself to confess. He will doubtless make this confession to me if I go to Venice to see him and to bring him back to trial. The commissioner could doubt no longer. Pedantic though he was, Commissioner von Riedau possessed sufficient insight to know the truth when it was presented to him with such conviction, and also sufficient insight to have recognized the gifts of the man before him. "But why? Why?" he murmured, sinking back into his chair and shaking his head in bewilderment. "Winkler was a miserable scoundrel, sir, a blackmailer. Thorn did only what any decent man would have felt like doing in his place. But justice must be done." Müller's elation vanished and a deep sigh welled up from his heart. The commissioner nodded slowly and glanced across the desk almost timidly. This case had appeared to be so simple, and suddenly the hidden deeps of a dark mystery had opened before him, deeps already sounded by the little man here who had gone so quietly about his work while the official police, represented in this case by Commissioner von Riedau himself, had sat calmly waiting for an innocent man to confess to a crime he had not committed. It was humiliating. The commissioner flushed again, and his eyes sank to the floor. "Tell me what you know, Müller," he said finally. Müller told the story of his experiences in the Thorn mansion, told of the slight clues which led him to take an interest in the house and its inmates, until finally the truth began to glimmer up out of the depths. The commissioner listened with eager interest. "Then you believed this elaborate yarn told by the tramp?" he interrupted once, at the beginning of the narrative. "Why, yes, sir, just because it was so elaborate. A man like Knoll would not have had the mind to invent such a story. It must have been true on the face of it." The commissioner's eyes sank again, and he did not speak until the detective had reached the end of his story. Then he opened a drawer in his desk and took out a bundle of official blank forms. "It is wonderful, wonderful, Müller. This case will go on record as one of your finest achievements, and we thought it was so simple." "Oh, indeed, sir. Chance favored me at every turn," replied Müller modestly. "There's no such thing as chance," said the commissioner. "We might as well be honest with ourselves. Anyone might have seen, doubtless did see, all the things you saw. But no one else had the insight to recognize their value, nor the skill to follow them up to such a conclusion. But it's a sad case. A sad case. I never wrote a warrant with a heavier heart. Thorn is a true-hearted gentleman, while the scoundrel he killed— Yes, sir, I feel that way about it myself. I can confess now that there was one moment when I was ready to, well, just to say nothing." "And let us blunder on in our official stupidity and blindness?" interrupted the commissioner, a faint smile breaking the gravity of his face. "We certainly gave you every opportunity, but there's an innocent man accused, suffering fear of death. Justice must be done." "But, sir," Müller took the warrant the commissioner handed across the table to him. "May I not make it as easy as I can for Mr. Thorn? I mean, bring him here with as little publicity as possible? His wife is with him in Venice." "Poor little woman, it's terrible. Do whatever you think best, Müller. You are a queer mixture. Here you've hounded this man down, followed hot on his trail, when not a soul but yourself connected him in any way with the murder. And now you're sorry for him. A soft heart like yours is a dangerous possession for a police detective, Müller. It's no aid to our business." "No, sir, I know that." "Well, take care it doesn't run away with you this time. Don't let Herbert Thorn escape, however much pity you may feel for him." "I doubt he'll want to, sir, as long as another is in prison for his crime." "But he may make his confession and then try to escape the disgrace." "Yes, sir, I've thought of that. That's why I want to go to Venice myself. And then there's the poor young wife. He must think of her when the desire comes to end his own life." "Yes, yes. This terrible thing has shaken us both up more than a little. I feel exhausted. You look tired yourself, Müller. Go home now and get some rest for your early start. Good night." "Good night, sir." End of chapter 11.